Cheapest flight you've gotten?
Glasgow to Belgium, and that was £30 return. If you search on Skyscanner, you find an option called Everywhere. And what it does is it lists from a lowest price to highest price of all the flights that are going from Glasgow to anywhere. So that's how we used to find the deals. With traveling, that I've found that the more you travel, the more addictive you become to it.
What would you say is some of the benefits of traveling for you?
I have become way more confident than I was. I was a very introvert person. My perspective has changed a lot.
If you're the mid-career worker with no time,
You always have time. Even if you're a workaholic, you always have time for something. I mean, you'll find time for something or the other.
what destination should everyone visit at least once and why?
For the beauty of it.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stories That Shape Us. If you're new on the show, we believe everyone has a story worth sharing and learning from. And we've got like an array of inspiring guests where we're going to their life story and about what makes them tick, but also about the lessons they've learned along the way. Our guest today is an amazing, amazing person. The first time I heard her story was a couple of months ago in the office, actually, and she was talking about how over the last 10 years or so, she's traveled to 40 plus countries. But guess what? She actually relates with many of the same struggles that many of us relate with. So whether you've got to apply for a visa, or you've got budget constraints, or just even finding the places to go to, she's been through all of that. And she's giving me so much tips. She's become like my travel advisor. Who needs trip advisor when you have Ritika in the building? Ritika, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah, really excited to be having this conversation with you. I know we have had a bits of, chits and chats here and there in office, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. So, Ritika, I was thinking maybe let's start with rapid fire questions this time.
Okay.
So I'll ask a couple of questions. Just tell me the first answer that comes to your mind. Given the fact that you're such a frequent traveler. Are you ready?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, question one. If you had to pick, window seats or aisle seats?
Aisle seats.
Why?
Because it gives me the flexibility of just running out and going through the immigration as quickly as possible and not waiting in the lines. So yeah, I always prefer aisle seats.
Okay, so aisle seats. Cheapest flight you've gotten and to where?
That was from Glasgow to Belgium, and that was £30 return. So that was a weekend trip, club with Friday and Monday, so 4 days trip, and that was the cheapest. So both of us, me and my husband, we went for the trip for £60 for return.
When was this? Because hopefully is that now?
Not now. That was before COVID, just before
Right,
COVID. I think a year or so before COVID.
Yeah, this is really interesting because it also sheds light into something that I've been thinking about, that sometimes they're actually fairly cheap flights if we know where to look. Anyways, we'll talk about that shortly. What visa has been the most difficult that you've gotten? What visa experience?
So the most difficult was the very first Schengen visa we were applying, because so far we have traveled mostly in Europe. We have covered Europe,
okay.
And the next plan is to cover other continents. And the most difficult was the very first visa that we got to Europe. That was for our honeymoon. That was from India. That wasn't from here. And that was the first time we were applying for the Schengen visa, and we had no idea, whether we'll get the visa or not. First of all, that was the major question if we are applying. Other thing was, what all documents to submit. Are we submitting less documents and all? So that was quite a challenging situation, because we had already booked our tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, to apply for Schengen, you need to book the tickets. And because we were traveling from India, it wasn't like £30 or £60 return ticket. It was way expensive. It was like about £600-700 worth of ticket for one person. So that was like, we had booked the flights and we didn't know whether we'll get the visa or not. So that was one of the most difficult ones to prepare, make sure everything is in place, finances are in place and all.
Okay, and maybe just two more questions before we start going to the episode itself. What's been one of your favorite local foods from places that you've visited?
I would say pizza in Italy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it much different from the pizza in
It's
Glasgow?
very different from here. It's just like, even, I mean, because I come from India and I've grown up eating Indian food. So Indian food here is very different from what you get in India. And similarly, it's the same with pizzas. What you get here and what you get in Italy is way, way different. So, and it's very tasty there. I mean, I love pizza in Italy.
Okay, so pizza in Italy. Most underrated destination you've been to?
Norway, I would say. Because Norway is one country, when we first went there, went without any expectations. I mean, we were on a spree of covering as many places as we could, and that's how we discovered Norway. And since last 5-6 years, I think we have been there 7 times, and we are still looking to go back there again. And it's amazing. It's one of the most beautiful countries we have ever seen.
Okay, so Norway, and I have to add that one to my list of countries. Ritika, I was hoping we'll really start from the beginning. Where did your love for traveling come from, and how have you just grown in that over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so I always was fascinated. I mean, I am the kind of person, I can't stay indoors all the time. I need, something new or the other. Even if I'm staying indoors, I need some new activity to pick up. So I was just like that. Even when I was a kid, my mom was very, very annoyed with me because I didn't stay indoors even if it was very hot. And I just loved going to places and all, but coming from India about maybe 10-15 years ago, it wasn't very common for a girl to travel anywhere alone, without their parents and all. So at that time, I mean, I was always a rebel kind of person. If you tell me you can't do something, I'll definitely go and do that thing. So there had been times when my parents just told me no, and I mean, I wasn't always the one listening and, agreeing to them. So when they used to tell me no, I used to just go. So I hadn't done many trips back then, but then when I got married, my husband said that he loves traveling, and I was like, okay, he loves traveling, then it could be probably 2 or 3 trips in a year. But he was another level crazy for traveling. I mean, I did not expect. There have been times where I am frustrated, like I need a break, I need to stay at home for a while. But he's that kind of travel crazy. So when we got married, the very first year, we had been to, when we were in India, we went to 5-6 places, and it was also that, the way of traveling was not very, comfortable, that you take flight from one place and reach there. We had been to places where we have changed 6-7 connections just to get to a place, just to save money.
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing. And then eventually when we moved here, then we started doing every alternate weekend. So I think we got to a point where we both are now addicted, and we become very restless if we can't go somewhere, I mean, we need one trip at least a month, that kind of, we are in that kind of position just now.
Yeah, and what would you say has been like maybe some of the benefits of traveling for you? Because people do things for different things anyways. People have different reasons why they do things. But for you, as you've traveled and explored the world, what would you say have been some of the benefits that you've gotten from that experience?
Yeah, I think I've grown a lot as a person. I have become way more confident than I was. I was a very introvert person. And even, asking some questions while going to a shop and all, I was very, nervous about talking to people and all. And while traveling, I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot as a person. I've grown way more confident. My perspective has changed a lot. I think I have become more open-minded by traveling to different places, seeing different places, seeing different cultures. And I mean, what I feel is like the world is more beautiful than I imagined it to be. Yeah. So I've definitely grown more confident as a more confident person than I was before. And even going to these places and observing the people, even if you're not talking to them, observing their behaviors, observing the people to the countries that you're visiting, it's not always a very good experience. I mean, you have both good and bad experiences because that's how the life is. It's not like you are always on the upward journey.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes life throws you back as well.
Yeah.
So you know, you learn a lot when traveling, when meeting people, when seeing people, observing people, and it's a very different experience. You see, there are so many similarities as
Yeah.
well. Last year we went for a friend's wedding in Greece, and you know, their traditions and cultures. When I was was being a part of that, I observed that so many traditions in the wedding are similar to how we have it in India. So you know, there are so many similarities, yet so many differences,
Yeah.
but still so many similarities. So that's
Yeah.
what I feel, and you definitely learn a lot. I mean, I was very poor at geography when I was in school, but I think with traveling, my geography has gone much better. Now I know about countries and places and you know things. But yeah, you definitely learn a lot when you are
Yeah.
traveling.
Yeah, I was hoping we'll talk a bit about some of your good experiences and the not so good experiences at some point. But I was hoping let's address one of the elephants in the room. One of the reasons why people don't like to travel is visas. To be honest, that stopped me as well. And I think I remember having a conversation with you last year in the office around this. Many people, particularly if they don't have like a UK passport or like a US passport that gives them access to many countries, always think, oh my goodness, such a hassle to like go to the visa office and stuff like that. So I was hoping from your experience, could you give some practical tips on how people could, starting from today, starting from the budget they have, actually get visas and just navigate through that process without all the thinking, oh my goodness, there's something else I have to do?
I think so. The very first thing I think is it's a block in our mind, is what I feel. That you know, visas are hard to get. Visas are not at all hard to get. So the thing is that the first thing where you could start is you know, decide on the place where you want to go, and then look for the cheap tickets. I mean, if you look for the tickets maybe a month from now, you'll not maybe find them that cheap. Again, it depends upon the season that you're going. If you've got a flexibility enough when you could go in the off-peak season, because both of us travel a lot in off-peak season, me and my husband.
What's an off-peak season?
It's more like when you are not traveling in summers, because summers is when every place is fully booked. If you travel in autumn and out of the school holidays, when there are not school holidays, like if you could plan like that, look for the tickets maybe 3 months from now. And for a place where you know, at the time when it's not that busy, look for the tickets first. Book the tickets, because you know, we keep on thinking, okay, we need to get the visa. We get into a loop of, you know, we need to get the visa, we need to book the ticket. If you book the ticket, that's like first step done. Book your tickets first, and that is it. That's half of the job done, because we keep on thinking, you know, whether we'll get the visa or not, and then we think, what if we book the tickets? It'll be the wasted money. So I feel that you book the ticket for the time when you find it cheap, and then you start the process, because visa process is not, I mean, you hardly need anything. You have, once you have your tickets, you can book refundable hotels, and then you can change them after, you know, you keep on finding deals and all. So you book your tickets, you book your hotel, and then all you need to do is get your appointment. That is it. You fill the form. And even I've seen the forms are so easy. I know that, you know, people think of going to travel agents and all, but filling your form, you are the best person who know yourself, your details. So you can fill your forms. They're not difficult at all. And I mean, that's it. You get your form filled, and then you get an appointment. The documents that you need is just your proof of finances, maybe your bank statements and all. And the only thing that I think these countries look for is if you've got, they want a proof that when you're going to their country, you're definitely coming back, you're not overstaying that. So these are the 3-4 basic things they look for. I think it's just that we kind of sometimes think that it's so difficult. We keep on thinking that when it becomes difficult, but getting a visa is not. So practically, I would say just look for the tickets, book the tickets, and that's, I think, 75% of your job done.
I see. Do you think there's some visas that are easier to get than others? Like
sorry, say that again.
Do you think there's some visas that are easier to get than others?
So
from your experience,
so I mean, the best part about living in the UK is you're so close to the Europe, and Europe is so huge and so diverse, and you just need one visa, Schengen visa. The only thing is, from which country do you apply? What I felt is that if you apply from Spain, it's easier to get appointments because they have got some priority appointments as well, where you could literally just book appointments for 2-3 days from now.
For Spain?
For Spain, yeah.
Okay.
So I think, and other countries also, Amsterdam and all these countries, I think it's easier. It's not that difficult. France, I've seen that it's difficult to get the dates for for France. But other countries in Europe, it's not very difficult. And the thing is that if you get a visa and if you utilize it to the most, what we have seen is, like, let's say you get a visa for a month, and if you make two trips, let's say in a month, next time that you are going to apply, they'll give you a visa for a longer period.
Oh,
so
I
that's
see.
what they just check, how much you're using it. That's what we have observed, at least, that the more you travel, the longer term is when you get your visa for.
Okay.
So I mean, it goes the way, like, if you're getting something, use it, and then continue using it, and you get more.
Yeah. For Schengen, let's use Schengen as an example. So say I want to travel to France.
Okay.
But I know that France itself, it's difficult to get an appointment.
Yes.
How do I navigate that? Is it just book in advance, or can I maybe go through some of the easier countries? Like, how would you process that if you were planning a trip to France, for
Yeah,
example?
if you're planning a trip to France, I would say you need to put a bit more effort into getting the appointment. And the reason being, France, the appointments are, as you said, it's very hard to get because the appointments come and they just go within seconds.
Okay.
So if you're planning, maybe plan for 3 months, like for a trip which is like 2 or 3 months from now, because you need to check the visa. I think there is at the midnight then that they open the appointments.
I see.
And there have been times when both of us have been like literally looking at the phone at the midnight and then trying to get the appointments. So it's a bit difficult, and that's why I was saying that if you want, you can go through other countries. If you're getting 3 months worth of visa or maybe 6 lesser, term of visa, then you travel more, so that when you apply for the next time from any country, you get more.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, for the more.
So it's either like you apply very early to get an appointment date, or you go through a country that's easier,
Yes.
like Spain or something else, and then you go.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about the other elephant in the room, which is I can't afford to travel, and most people are thinking, or most people imagine traveling to be some really expensive, which to some places it might be, but from your experience, like you said, you went to Belgium for £30. I know that's quite a while ago, but I think there will still be some potential opportunities for like cheap travel. So let's talk about how do you find cheap flights? How do you find cheap hotels? If you could mention like some tools or resources that you use to plan, how do you go about planning these things?
So, so first of all, the finance, what we did was, because as I was saying, we hadn't been to any of these countries. What we used to do was we used to, Skyscanner. I think that's like one of the tools which is best for finding the deals and all. If you search on Skyscanner, you find an option called Everywhere. And because we weren't to any other countries, we just used to find Everywhere.
So that's everywhere? Like you can
it's an option. So when you search, like if I'm looking for a ticket from Glasgow to, and then you have an option to search Everywhere in there. And what it does is it lists from a lowest price to highest price of all the flights that are going from Glasgow to anywhere in the world. So that's how we used to find the deals, because the thing is that if you haven't been to anywhere is fine. So that's how we were looking for everywhere. So that's how we used to find cheap tickets, which I think after COVID it has changed now. You don't find deals like, £30 return, but it's still, it's fine to, find the deals. It's not still that expensive. So that was one. Another thing is, so both of us, we are not fond of shopping. I mean, that's one thing. We don't spend much on clothes or, shoes and stuff. What we do is every month we keep some amount aside for traveling. So that's like, so it's more like, we keep an amount aside for traveling and then we spend our month based on rest of the amount. So that's how we used to plan. Okay. And then from the hotel's perspective, what we used to do was, we used to compare prices on Booking. We have got Booking.com, Expedia, and we don't splurge on hotels. We don't look for hotels with swimming pools and spas. We look for very basic, because when you're going to a place, you are just going to stay there for a night. take your shower and then leave in the morning because you're going to visit places. That's how we do. So what we do is we don't spend too much on accommodation as well. We just find, based on the reviews, a cheap, decent hotel which is closer to the city center, maybe not far away, so that we save on traveling costs, expenses, and we don't look for very fancy hotels. Even if it is a one-star hotel, that's fine, as long as it's a clean room with a clean bathroom. That is it. So we don't spend a lot on hotels either. Another thing that we do is we don't eat in restaurants, fancy restaurants. We try tend to do the takeaways, or maybe have food on the go. As I was saying, pizzas, like in Italy, you could literally get a pizza slice for €1 or €2 for a person. It's like a huge pizza slice. So, that's one meal done for you. So we don't spend too much on eating in the restaurants, fancy restaurants, and staying in fancy hotels. And that's how we...
Okay. So from like, if financial planning perspective, you already have a budget every month or a certain amount or percentage that goes into savings, and then you check for cheapest flights, check for cheapest hotels where you could just sleep, and then you also prioritize. Okay, I like that, because one of the things that I was looking forward to is to, like, at some point in this conversation, we'll do like this scenario-based planning where we would imagine 3 scenarios. Anyways, we'll get there shortly, but imagine 3 scenarios for 3 different people. And I'll be asking for your thoughts on how would you plan travel for these people. But something I wanted us to maybe talk about more before we go into this logistics of travel was, you mentioned good experiences of traveling, bad experiences of traveling, but also how do you talk to me about both of them, about some of your best experiences traveling, and also the not so good ones, and how did you cope with that?
So I'll probably start with not so good experiences so that we could, finish on a positive
note.
Love
that, yeah.
So one of the worst experiences that we had was in Poland. That was in, I think, about 6-7 years from now, before today. So what happened was we were in Poland for maybe 5-6 days. And we got a lot of stares just because of the brown skin. We got a lot of stares. And the one of the very bad experiences was we were coming out of a train station, and there was a guy who was walking in front of us, and he just turned around and he continuously kept on walking, looking at us backwards for about 15-20 seconds. And that was a bit scary for us. Because I think that's because, there weren't many brown people in Poland, but that was one of the experiences that we can never forget. And we were so scared at the time. We didn't know what to do, whether to turn back that guy just kept on looking at us. But having said that, I wouldn't say that Poland is a bad country. Poland was a very beautiful country. It's just that the experiences that we had at the time weren't that good. But I think probably it would have changed now because of more globalization, more people moving to other places and all. But I think it was because of our skin color that we faced that. Then the good experiences, we have had a lot of good experiences, the kindness of the people, in different countries and all. So one of the situations was when we traveled to Switzerland from India. That was on our first wedding anniversary that we came over. And we were in Zurich. That was our last evening there, and we were meant to fly back to India. So we went to a square. So we were going for dinner, and the place where we were supposed to have dinner wasn't opened until then. There was about half an hour after which it was opening. So we went to a square, and there was this, and it was a square, and there was a shack there, a food truck kind of thing. And we asked the guy, we went there for the drinks and all. And that guy, he looked at us and he asked us, where are you from? And he just started talking, and we told him that we've come from India. So what he said was, are you a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian? And we were like, yeah, we are vegetarian because my husband is a vegetarian. So he was like, there is a specific kind of cheese that you get in India. So he asked, do you eat that? And we said yes. And he said, okay, you sit and I'll get you the drinks. So he brought the drinks, and then he brought food. and he brought lots of food. And we started looking at each other, and we were a bit apprehensive because, that's the kind of psychology, human psychology. If someone is doing something good to us, we think that probably they have some intentions, like some selfish interest that they are doing this. So he brought the food, and we were like, no, we don't want this. And he said, you enjoy, and let me know if you need anything. And we finished our drinks, finished the food, and we literally, in the mind, we started calculating how much the bill would be, because as I was saying, that we always travel on budget, and there's like limited expenses we allocate to each meal and all. So he comes back and he said, do you want another drink? And we said, no. He said, okay, stay, I'll get another drink. He got another drink and he got more food.
Wow.
And we were so stuffed. And at one point, I looked at my husband and I told him that I think we should leave now. I mean, it's going beyond, way beyond, and Switzerland being an expensive country.
Spend lots of money.
Yeah. So we went to the counter and we told him that we are done. And he said, do you want more drinks? And we were like, no, we are too full. And we won't even eat dinner now because we were so full. And we asked him for the money, and he said, no, I won't take money. And we were so surprised that, it was like we didn't ask for anything, and he just did it out of kindness.
Yeah.
So then we were like, no, we were feeling so bad because we had so much food and so many drinks, and we were like, no, please take something. We don't feel nice. And we literally, we were at a standoff for 15 minutes. We kind of kept on telling him. And he did not agree. And the last thing that he told was, just pray for me and my wife, because we are trying to have a kid and haven't had one for years. So just pray for us. And that's all I want. And that was one of the experiences that has stayed forever with us. And that's when we realized that, not everyone has bad intentions. Yeah. There is kindness in the world, and everyone have their own problems. Yeah. People have their own issues and all. And the more you give back, the more you get, is what we took from that.
I like that, because actually, Tosin, I'm going to put Tosin on the spot, my friend. He was telling me about this story where a couple of, last year or 2 years ago, he was in Scotland, where he was buying something in a shop, if I remember correctly, right? And then someone actually pays for right in the shop, and he was like, what?
Yeah.
What's good? Yeah, his card wasn't working, and I think he was like apprehensive, like, oh my goodness, like, and I was like, don't worry, I'll pay for it for that for you.
Exactly. And the more you travel, this is one of the experiences, and we have had a lot of experiences like that since then. We have had experiences in literally every country. So that's what, that's when you realize that the more the people are so kind, and they are so giving, I would say. Yeah. It just fills your heart with.
Yeah. It's like the more you travel, the more you potentially open yourself up for opportunities to meet really kind people. And actually, I have a story of my own as well, because I only have Albania visited. But in Albania, this actually, as you're talking, it's reminding me of my own story. We went to Albania and we didn't know anywhere around, but would like ask the hotel folks, like, hey, how do we get from here to here? And at some point, I think the receptionist would actually take us in her car to where we were going to. And she didn't even really speak English that well. We didn't speak the Albanian language as well, but it was just nice to see that interaction of like kindness, which actually takes me to another point, because we're talking earlier about the benefits of traveling and why traveling is really good. I think one of them, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, is I mentioned exposure, but it also almost opens your mind into how different people think and operate in different parts of the world. So, for example, many people that have visited Scotland, one of the things that they almost always say about Scotland is people are really lovely and kind and friendly. Like, I thought I was the only one that had that perspective until other people from different parts of the world came. If you visited Nigeria, maybe you see the people are just so ambitious, like irrespective of the economic situations. I'm sure it's the same thing with like India. If you visit US, you see like this ambition as well. So every area has something to teach you if you'd set yourself up to like go for that. So that's really good. Now let's talk about the logistics again of traveling. So I've got 3 scenarios that I want us to like talk a bit about, and then let's plan a trip for different types of people.
Okay.
The first person is, imagine there's a student in a university or college in Scotland, fairly broke, just has enough money to maybe eat and all that stuff, but wants to travel. Let's walk through ideas or plans for this person. I'll let you go first, since you're the travel person. How would you go about advising this person who wants to explore stuff?
So I would say that set a budget first. Like, how much do you have? Now, let's take an example that I've got £200 in my account that I've set aside for budget for a weekend travel. You could easily do that, traveling to a European country with the Schengen or
with
the Schengen country.
£200?
Yeah. So how you do that is you, as I was saying, use Skyscanner, pick a country. I mean, I still see deals to Ireland for £15 for one-way travel. So pick a country where you are finding the tickets out of the season. Weekend trips are always expensive. Like, most of the times you'll find the weekend trips expensive. So if you could afford, maybe try to do it on a weekday, like 2-3 days. Travel on a weekday, like if you travel on a Thursday evening, it's cheaper than traveling on a Friday evening, because you'll have more crowd. So pick a date, pick the tickets. Do not stay in a hotel. You find hostels in Europe, all over the Europe, for maybe £20-25 per night. You find a hostel.
Are they safe generally?
They are.
Okay.
We have, I mean, as a couple, we have stayed in hostels, and they are clean, they are very good. And, and the best thing about that is you find so many new people when you're staying in hostel, because, most of the people are solo traveling or traveling with friends and all. And you find so many, you make so many friends, you meet so many new people. So find a hostel rather than a hotel, and you easily find that. Another thing is, when you are in a hostel, you find a group of people. If you are, planning to visit places and all, you find a group of people, and then you can probably club together. If you're booking a taxi or something, or a tour, then you can club together and all. So that's another thing. Like, do not spend lots of money on a hotel. With food and all, again, do the takeaways. Don't eat in fancy restaurants. Try and eat local cuisine in local places and all, if you can. And that saves you a lot of money as well. So I would say, like, these are the things as a student that you probably should be looking for, and that helps you save the money. And I mean, being a student, you probably won't be able to afford maybe 1 or 2 trips every month. Maybe try doing it once every 3 months or something like that. So you kind of keep on building up your funds, and then plan it accordingly. Or even then, I would say, even if you don't have to go to Europe. Even UK is so beautiful. We have been to so many places. Like, that saves you money. You get bus travels, overnight bus travels. The tickets are so cheap. You don't have to take the flights and all. I mean, every place has its own experience. It gives you more experiences and all. It's all about learning, visiting new places, seeing new places. So you can take buses and make use of the public transportation. UK and Europe are so good with the public transportation. So as a student, I would say, do not be ambitious of spending money on hotels or eating in a fancy restaurant, because I know when we are on social media, we see people, posting videos and photos of such fancy restaurants and such fancy hotels. But there's more to traveling than just, these things we see on social media.
Yeah, I like that. So I like the idea of, like, you're going to travel and explore, necessarily to have a social media experience. So you want to be careful that you don't go beyond your budget, which is what you said about, like, having a budget being so important. And I like what you said about sometimes even exploring Europe can be cheaper from terms of sin than even sometimes in the UK.
Yes.
There was a time last year, I think I was just so tired and stressed, and so I told Blessing, I was like, we need to plan a weekend trip. I was like, okay, let's plan this trip. And then we almost impromptu, just like booked a trip, went to Aberdeen, got a train and all of that stuff. We spent a couple of £100, and when we went to Albania, we spent almost that same amount. And I was like, this doesn't make so much sense. How can it be that you're traveling the same country?
Exactly, and that's the thing. When that was our first year here in the UK, and again we were on tight budget, and we went to Portugal, and we found, so it was again off season. It was during Christmas and New Year season in December, and we went to Portugal, and we found a hotel it was not a hotel, it was actually a resort with like full breakfast and bed and breakfast kind of thing. So we got, I think it was for 4 nights for 2 people, and we got the hotel for, I don't know, I think that was 40 or 50 pounds per night.
Whoa.
With breakfast and everything included, and that was solely because it was off season. I mean, people don't travel much on Christmas and New Year, and because we're not here living with our families, it's
Yeah.
just us, and we're not going to spend Christmas and New Year with family, so we tend to go at these times of the year when it's not expensive to get there.
Yeah.
And one of the surprises was we got a pint of beer for €1. That's not even
Whoa.
£1. And that was like, that's when you realize that there are places which are very cheap. Portugal, Spain, Italy, they're not very expensive. You just have to plan, and you just have to do a bit of research, and then you can easily do your trips.
Okay, so Portugal, Spain, because I was hoping we could maybe talk about that as well. Fairly cheap places to visit in Europe: Portugal, Spain, Italy. Where else would you say relatively cost of living and stuff
Yeah,
isn't cheap?
Eastern Europe is also very cheap because not many tourists have reached there. It's not a very, it's not, these countries are not the kind where you get more footfall, so things become more expensive. So I would say Slovenia, Slovakia. We have been to Lithuania, which was not expensive at all as well. So these countries on the eastern side of Europe, Albania,
Yeah,
as you
Albania.
said.
Albania was
So
quite
these countries which are not that explored but are very beautiful, yeah, you can easily find deals.
Okay, okay. Well, so our broke student has some tips already. So let's go to the next category, which is a mid-career worker who says they have no time. So someone who is a professional, always at work. So I want to travel, but I've got no time. How do you? You're a full-time worker.
Exactly. I was about to say that.
Samir, your
I am a
husband
full-time worker.
is a full-time
I
worker.
have
Both
got
of you
a job.
yeah, exactly. Both of you have got 9 to 5. How do you make it work? And how can a mid-career worker with no time make it work?
I'd say once you get into that, I would say the wave where, you start enjoying the travel, you find time. It's just like on the weekends, for example, just staying at home, maybe doing the chores and all. I mean, these things will never end. Your daily routine and daily life, it'll keep on going. You just have to, step out of it for some time. So what we usually do is, again, we have got limited number of holidays. So what we try and do is, we do shorter trips. That saves the budget as well, rather than doing maybe 2 weeks trips and all. So what we do is, let's say you take Friday and Monday off, then you've got weekend in between. So you are going for 4 days. And if you're going to places, again, I mean, there have been times when we have visited 2 cities in a day. Like, we literally just go there, we see the vibe, we visit some places, pick places that interest us, then we travel to another city in the country. So you can do much more rather than, being in one place. Or if you don't enjoy going to more places, then you can just be there. But the point being that if you take Friday and Monday off, then you've got 4 days, and 4 days is good enough to travel and, in budget. So it's more like when you're working and all, you will take your holidays for sure. So it depends how you break your holidays over the year. So that's one of the tips that I would give, that even if you can't afford to move away from work for a week or 2 weeks, try doing shorter trips, which is not taking you away from work for long, but is taking you away from work just to feel refreshed.
Yes.
And that's one of the tips. Or if you enjoy going on long holidays, then maybe plan for a week or 2 weeks of trip every 6 months. That way you can club your holidays together, and then you are not away from work for a longer period of time. So it depends what suits you best. You just have to, that's what we feel. We just, we enjoy doing it, so we find time. You find time for the things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And with traveling, that I've found that the more you travel, the more addictive you become to it.
Yeah, yeah. As you're talking, like, something that came to mind, because like you said, something that was so impactful, which was many times we spend our lives revolved around, oh my goodness, I've got this work, I've got the next meeting, I've got this task on Monday, I'm working weekends. But I've also come to like realize, life is quite short. Like, time passes by so fast. Even Jimmy Samuels, who was in the army for, I think, 26 years, I interviewed him on this podcast. And one of the things that he was saying, I asked him, what advice would he give his children? He was like, go out and see the world.
Exactly.
Like, the world is so beautiful.
Exactly.
There's so much more going on than in the world, than your own side of the world.
Exactly.
Just explore.
Yeah.
So I really love what you've said. So if you're the mid-career worker with no time, actually, no.
You always have time
You always
for
have
everything.
time.
Exactly. So I wouldn't take that point that you don't have time even if you work. Even if you're a workaholic, you always have time for something. I mean, you'll find time for something or the other.
The last one is, imagine a couple who wants to do like a honeymoon, or they've got like a romantic budget or whatnot. They're currently in the UK, thinking of traveling. At least one of them has some income coming in. What would you advise them in terms of like finding nice romantic spots?
So in terms of romantic spots, there are a lot, I would say. I mean, when we went on our honeymoon, Greece was one place that fascinated me. Santorini Island in Greece, those white buildings with blue domes and all.
So
that was such
so
a picturesque, place that I always wanted to go. Then I would say New Zealand. As a couple, if you go, there's so much to. New Zealand is so beautiful, such a beautiful country. I really want to go there as well. Both of us want to go there. That's another place. Like, it depends upon what kind of activities you want to do. If you want to do, a hot air balloon ride, there's Cappadocia in Turkey. You could go to Turkey. Turkey is beautiful. There's so much to do there. Okay. If you want to be in midst of nature, New Zealand, Norway, these are the countries. If you're more adventure lover, go to South America. You've got Patagonia, lots of hikes there, lots of things to do. Again, if you want to go to a cold and beautiful place with frozen lakes and all, then Canada is the country. You could go to Canada. I mean, world is an oyster, I would say. Depends upon what you want to do. And there's so much to do. There's so many things to do. If you want to swim in a sea, go to swim in Dead Sea, where you could just, go and you don't have the fear of drowning and all.
I heard so. Like, do you actually just float through?
Yeah, the sea is so salty that you can't drown. You'll just float. So that's what I'm saying. That there's so much to do, so many things to do.
Wow.
It's literally, the world is an oyster.
Let's talk about some of the most unusual places that you've been to. I'm going to say unusual. I mean places that are not talked about popularly on like Instagram and all these places, but are still really remarkable. You've mentioned Norway, but there's a place you went to that you told me about that I just can't get out of my head, and that is Svalbard.
Svalbard.
Tell me about Svalbard. Like, how do you what's the place about? What makes the place so unique, and also how do you get there? And how do you plan for that?
So I'll start with how we found about the place. There was I don't remember. We were in some hotel room, and we were about to go to bed, and suddenly this thought came to my mind, and I told Sameer that, what is the northernmost place that we could go? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, I'll Google. I started Googling it. So I started Googling, then the first place that came was Alert. That's a place in Canada, but that's only the air base for Canadian army, so they just have an air base, so that's not something you could visit easily. Then the second place that came was, so I started Googling further, and that's when I found the northernmost town in the place where you could visit is in Svalbard. That's Longyearbyen. That's the capital of Svalbard. So
is Svalbard a country?
Svalbard is not a country. It's an archipelago of islands. It's a Norwegian territory. Like, Norway runs Svalbard, but it's not owned by any single country. So it's kind of a place where there are different islands. So there's one part of the island that's where the Russian people live. Then the Norwegian people live in other part of the island. So there's no one country in the world that has got the what do you call that they own that place. So you don't need a visa to go there.
You don't need a visa to go to Svalbard?
No, but the only caveat is that you do not get any flights directly to Svalbard. So you need a Schengen visa to travel to Oslo, then take another flight from Oslo to Svalbard. But to go to Svalbard, you don't need any visa.
I see, okay.
So that's how I found out. And then I told Sameer that, I really want to go. And the thing is that he is the planner he does the most of the planning. So I just tell him that this is the place we could go. I mean, I help him a bit, but he's the brain. He's the brains behind all our traveling things. I'm mostly like the person who packs the bags and then go along. But yeah, I mean, we work together on certain things. So I told him, and he was like, and I was like, it's very difficult to go. That the kind of block we always have, getting anywhere is, to a place like that, it'll be very difficult. So he was like, no, we'll make it happen. And I was like, no, we can't. It's too expensive. It's too far. It's such a distant place to go. And then, what would we do there? Once we reach there, the hotels are so expensive. And then once you go there, you need to book your trips and all. So the tours and all. And he was like, no, we'll make it happen. So that's how it started. And then how the planning happened was, so we attempted to go there once, but I think again with these things, sometimes life throws you something which you haven't planned for before.
Yeah.
So the first time we were meant to go was we were in Zurich, and then from there we were meant to stay there for a few days, and then we were meant to go to Svalbard, and then from there that was a 2-week trip, and we were going to Croatia after that. And the airlines from which we were traveling from Zurich to Svalbard and then to Croatia, there was a pilot strike for more than 10 days and all the flights got cancelled.
Oh my goodness.
So we had to, at that time, we had to replan everything. We were in Zurich and we didn't know what to do, and then we replanned everything, and then instead of going to Svalbard, we thought we'll get stuck there. So we went to Croatia directly. But then when we came back, we were like, now we have to go there. And that's how we got to the point where we went there. That is one of the most magical places I've been there, because you continue traveling and you keep seeing places. But that was one place. We were in the plane, and that was one time I was sitting at the window seat, and I looked out of the window, and all I could see was frozen sea and white glaciers.
Whoa.
And I don't know, there was something very powerful about the place. Automatically, the tears started coming out of my eyes. I can't express the feeling I was feeling at that time, but that was one of the most magical places that we went to. And that is one of the weirdest place as well, where when you are moving out of the town boundaries, you see those signs. So you see that red triangle signs which cautions you about something. That was one of the places which cautions you about polar bears roaming around.
Oh my goodness.
So
they just have polar bears roaming around the area.
Not around the town anymore, but still, I mean, there have been incidents here and there where they have been closer to the town boundaries. And another thing is, it's illegal to step out of the town without guns. So you need to have a gun, not to kill the polar bears, but to scare them off.
I see.
And until few years ago, the tourists used to go to the tourist office, and they used to get the guns and permits to when they were stepping out of the town boundaries. But now it's mandatory to have a guide, a travel guide along with you who carries the gun. And when we went there and we were with this tourist guide, another weird thing was, the moment he was literally stepping out of the town boundary, he was loading his gun. And when he was about to, come inside the boundary, he was unloading, because you can't have loaded guns within the town boundaries. So that is very different. That is like one of the very different places we have been, and the experiences have been so amazing.
Yeah, honestly, Ritika, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I already have tips for traveling already. I already have ideas in my head of like, okay, maybe I should start to like explore some travel over the next couple of months. So I'll start to go into like the more reflective stage of this. So we have, just to do a quick recap, we've done this prompting for like planning for a broke student, planning for a mid-career until they have no time, and then planning for like, a couple on a romantic budget. So we want to actually ask our audience as well to like participate in this. Where is the most beautiful place you've ever been to? And write it down in the comments. Like, we'd want to know where you recommend other people to visit. If it's affordable, if it's budget, even if it's a bit expensive, just let's hear your thoughts on that. So the last question, or second to the last question for you, Ritika, this is a question we ask all our guests on the episode, and is, if your life was a book, with all your experiences, all the ups and downs, what would its title be?
I would say a wanderer.
And why that particular one?
Because as I was saying, I feel very claustrophobic staying, at home, and I really want to go, even if it's going out for walks for 1-2 hours around where I live and all. I'm the kind of person I can't stay indoors, and I just, or I would say a learner rather than a wanderer. I would say a learner because
Okay.
I'm so keen to learn with the experiences, and even I try. Learning new hobbies,
Yeah.
trying new things. So I would say a learner rather than
I
a
like
wanderer.
that. Lena, I guess the last question would be, actually, it's not a question. It's more of like an open-ended space for you to then say something or to talk about something I may not have asked you about, but you still want our listeners to either understand about your journey, about your story, about just tips for them. Because sometimes in like planning these episodes, I have questions in my head, and I think sometimes there's some questions that I perhaps should ask, but I've not gotten to like ask them, or I don't even know about them. So here's your chance to like tell our listeners absolutely anything on any topic.
I would say that if I have got a never-ending amount of money with me, I'll just leave everything and I'll just pick my backpacks. If it's funding me, I'll just go traveling around the world. I'll never come back to where I live or where I am at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I want to say. I mean, that's one thing I would just want to just leave everything and just go.
Yeah, honestly, Ritika, thank you so much. Like yourself and Samir, I was saying this earlier, we were in your house a couple of months ago, and one of the things you said was you always have your backpack
Yes.
ready to go at any point in time. Your enthusiasm, your passion for traveling is just so contagious. Even in the office, I can tell you, Ritika, what do you think about this particular place? I was thinking, how do I get your visa? And over the last hour, one of the things that we've tried to do, and I hope our audience can relate to this as well, is to create like using Ritika's story as inspiration for you to also explore and live out life. And so actually I wanted to like end with this challenge for our listeners that I wrote down here. And the challenge is this. If you listen to this, here's a small challenge for you. Find a country that you can visit within the next 6 months, right? Search for the cheapest flights possible, use Skyscanner. And
Yes.
where else can they search for these flights apart from Skyscanner?
Skyscanner has been my go-to place, honestly.
Search for cheapest flights in the next 60 days to one of these places. Save £5 a day. Is that okay? For a month?
Depending upon,
Where they're going to?
no, I think maybe £10 because you don't even get a lunch for £5 these days.
Save £10 a day for the next month. Book it, and when you go there, tag us. Like, let us know. We would love to like hear your stories as well. Ritika, honestly, thank you so much for your time once again. We're linking Ritika's, you've got a Facebook page where you post more of your travel stuff
Yes.
too. We're linking that and Ritika's LinkedIn as well. Feel free to like tag us when you travel for all the tips that Ritika's giving you. Honestly, Ritika, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I
you.
really, really appreciate it. This has been such a blast, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.